Johnson adding his fellow Republicans on Capitol Hill have the votes for a formal inquiry against Biden. That could happen as soon as this week. For more on this, let's bring in House Majority Whip Tom Emmer. Congressman, great to see you this morning.
Good to be with you.
So before we talk about where we stand, perhaps with votes in the Republican caucus, talk to me about an impeachment inquiry, a formal impeachment inquiry. For anybody watching and listening at home, this is not an impeachment vote. This is to formalize a process that gives you what? More power to subpoena? What would you accomplish by making this next step to an impeachment inquiry?
The argument that I would make is that we already have the authority, and Jamie Comer with oversight, and Jim Jordan with judiciary, and even Jason Smith with our Ways and Means Committee have done amazing work. But the White House on November 17th sent a letter to Jamie Comer and to Jim Jordan telling them that they refused to honor the subpoenas that had been served because they believe without a full floor vote, it's not a valid impeachment inquiry. So, look, you've got a situation, Will, where it's very likely the president knew what his family was doing, and it's very likely that he benefited from what his family was doing. We have to follow these facts.
So the White House is, in essence, what you're saying, setting a standard. And by the way, that standard hasn't been consistently held, especially when Democrats held the House. But they're setting a standard to say, we're not going to comply with a subpoena unless you have a floor vote. So now Republicans are looking to have that floor vote to basically meet the standard set by the Biden administration, I would assume, and then say, well, now you got to satisfy the subpoena.
That's right.
So do you have the votes? If it goes to the floor, do you have the votes for an official impeachment inquiry?
If it goes to the floor, we're going to pass it. There's no question. But keep in mind, the issue here is the White House is, Mike said it yesterday, they are stonewalling. They're trying to delay. We're going to have to go, or Jim Jordan and Jamie Comer and Jason are going to have to go to court to enforce the subpoenas. And the decision, apparently, that our speaker is going to make is, we're going to satisfy this faux excuse by having a floor vote on a formal impeachment inquiry so that when we do go to court to get those subpoenas enforced, there really isn't an argument against it.
Okay, and you're the guy that whips the votes. And the speaker said it yesterday. He expressed a little bit of hesitation about some holdouts in the Republican caucus, which we had some trouble understanding why. Why would a Republican? I don't know how it would hurt them if you were in a swing district right now just to go to the next formal step. But you're here telling me today, as the man who whips the votes, we've got the votes for this vote.
I don't talk about what votes we have, Will. I'm telling you, if it comes to the floor, we're passing it.
Okay, good. On that same note, I want to follow up on something the speaker said yesterday. He brought up H.R. 2. He said, we're going to send standalone bills, immigration, funding Ukraine. We're not going to roll this all up into one. We're going to go one at a time. And he told Pete Hegseth, I believe directly, this is a hill we'll die on. Now, that's not happening in the Senate. Chuck Schumer's sitting on those bills. He wants to wrap it all up into one big bill. Do you believe that is the path Republicans will pursue? That is true. This is the hill you'll die on, and you can find success.
He's related the border. Our speaker is related the border to Ukraine funding in specific. And if you're going to do any Ukraine funding, he wants H.R. 2, and he's willing to die on that hill. But let's go to a timely one. Yesterday, Will, was 1 month since the House passed a fully paid for Israeli aid bill. It's been sitting for a month and no action whatsoever by Chuck Schumer's Senate. This is the kind of thing that Mike Johnson is trying to change in Washington, D.C. And I think you just have to have the public putting more pressure on these politicos, these political elites that think that the world is still the way they thought it was last year.
All right, Congressman Tom Emmer, it's going to be an interesting week for you, individually, for everybody watching as well, on advancing some of these things we've been watching for months. Seems like an opportunity for a big step forward. Thank you for being with us this morning.
Thank you, Will.